Hello everybody, it's me, Nikki, and today I'm here with part 2 of my, oh god, that's heavy, review of the Pearl Saga. Ooh, I knocked my computer. And this is The Veil of a Thousand Tears. So, in the first book, The Ring of the Five Dragons, that's the item they're looking for. And the Veil of a Thousand Tears is once again the item that Rian is looking for. So, let me get my notes. This picks up 9 weeks after the first book. Rian, Gian, Rek, and Elena are like on the run, and then I made notes and then I don't remember why I make them. Okay, there is a prophecy for the Dar Salaat that for their allies. One will love her, one will betray her, and one will try to destroy her. So far Rian has only 3 allies, and Gian is like, because Rian / Anon still loves Elena, and Gian's like, you're the Dar Salaat, you can't really do that. So yeah, and then, not a spoiler because it is told in the plot, not the plot, whatever, the blurb and the front cover. Oh, the map is much better in this one because it's a hardback and they've added more detail. Let's take the cover off. So Rian is off to this area, the Kurush. So what happens is they're just chilling, and then Gian is like, because of her gift and what happened in the first book, she's taken over by a demon. And he's basically, Rian has a limited amount of time to save her before the demon takes over completely, and then gains Gian's powers. So Rian has to go to the Kurush and find the Veil of a Thousand Tears, which will save her. And then, like the first book, it goes back and forth between the two, like, fantasy stuff and the sci-fi stuff. So it's all about Kurgan and his family. He has a sister. He has a sister who is rebellious for a woman. And he has an older brother who is deformed. That's what they call it, but I believe you find out what happens with him, but he was like born different, and that's they're kind of like the Spartans in that way. They'll just kill you. And then there's tension between Kurgan and Olin, who was from the first book, who took over Rek's position. And we're also introduced to the bottom of the lesser caste, the Dariuses, who are physicians relegated to taking care of the dead and the insane, and they are gay, all of them, and then they're super looked down upon. So you see a lot of Kurgan's sister and his sort of business rival, and you see a lot of his older brother as well. There is a Gurgan who's who's controlling Kurgan, and Kurgan's like whole thing is like to get out of that, and he thinks he's so much smarter and better, and I'm like, I don't think you are. And then the Gurgan do not know who the Dar Salaat is. They think it's a man. And pretty much every prophecy says it. They don't mention a gender, but everybody assumes it would have been a male. There's some torture. Kurgan's sister, Mercian, has some hidden romance, which is cool. Then you also meet their grandmother, who is a fucking badass. And I kind of like that Brienne and Elena, I'm not sure how to say that, are a thing. And the Centopheni are mentioned again, and it's like I said, that's the one thing the Vorn are scared of. And I think in the first book, there was a prophecy that was the same thing as like a Kundalin prophecy, like the end of the world, the type of thing. But the Vorn one is like the Centopheni are coming. You also meet a new character. His name is Minim, and he is apparently the only male sorcerer left, except you come to find out when Brienne goes to the Kurush, there are necromancers, and they are essentially the male sorcerers that Mina has banished, and they have a sixth finger on one of their hands, and it's black, and that's how you know them. And I don't know if Minim has that or it's been removed. Rhiann has to go alone to save Gian, and once there are 5 tribes. There are the Janissary, who are warlords, the Ghazi Khan, who are mystics, and then there's a sect of Ghazi Khan that Rhiann meets that are like even more mystical. The Razan Sul are the spice merchants, the Beidas are the historians and the archaeologists, and the Han Jad are artisans, and they're all at war with each other. The Gore is the sect of the Ghazi Khan that are even more religious. And there is also Jihare, I believe is how you say it. It's the prophet of the Ghazi Khan, and that it's mentioned a lot to Rhiann, so that probably Jihare probably has something to do with the Dar Salaat. They just don't tell you in this one. She gets their respect with that one sect because one of their wild animals is like, oh, she's cool, so they take her to the main city, but then she gets captured. There is no choice, and she becomes a concubine, and she gets like a nose ring because that's it. And another concubine whose name is Tezik, who is the first concubine, begins teaching Rhiann sex stuff essentially, and they form a relationship. Her quote-unquote owner's an asshole. And then after that, you get 3. You get Rhiann, the Vorn, usually Kurgan or his sister, and you're back at the I've forgotten the name of the temple that she studied at. The stone border, where her temple was. White. Heavenly White? I don't remember. And basically everything's in chaos. but then Guiane shows up at the Abbey. And she's like, "Hi, I'm back. What's been happening?" And everybody's like, "Oh, thank God. Bart is missing or dead." And then, like, there's this other bitch in charge, and we don't like her. And then Guiane's like, "I'll take care of it." But also orders all the mirrors taken down, because come to find out, that's how you see demons. And they're not pleasant to look at. There's some spousal abuse. Oh, and they also, it's mentioned in the first book, mixed race babies between the Kundalin and the Vorn are taken away. And it's at the hospital where Marathon visits their other brother, where a lot of the babies go. And I think they're like, it's never shown, and it's mostly like told, but they are tested upon by the Gurgan and the Technomages. And there's even a baby that comes in, because the Vorn have like 2 hearts, and a baby comes in, or a child, and it's Kundalin, but it has 2 hearts, and it won't live, so it dies, and then they autopsy it. And I said here, some characters are just too stupid to live. Like, what's his name? It's Bron Palin. He is an ally of Kurgan's family. And he wants to be the prime factor. But that's what, Marathon's boyfriend is, and so he's like really stupid, and he definitely gets what he deserves. So yeah, there's necromancy, and there are like prophecies mentioned in here, and it's basically just Rian, the Dar Salaat. There's some, I called it science horror, but it might actually be body horror. On page 367, so pretty far into the book, Rian is escaping with Tazik, and they go into a room, and that's where the Gurgan is staying, and there's like a coffin, but it's like where the Gurgans sleep, and then the umbilical cords basically like suck into Tazik, and then Rian has to like pull them off. So it's kind of like science-y body horror. There is another woman at the temple called Ingress, and she's a badass, and she's basically like fighting a one-man thing against these demons. There's some quicksand, and somebody dies that way. And then Rian finally meets Pernot, I think, who will be able to teach her things that Gian can't, and also lead her to the Veil of 1,000 Tears. And Pernot mentions that she has kids around Rian's age, which I'm like, that's gonna be important. Kurgan rapes a Kundalin female because he thought she was Elena. And the veil is semi-sentient. And then, sort of, it's been, this has been mentioned before, but there's like 3 main people. The Dar Salaat, check, we found that in Rian. There's the Nawaitir, who will be the protector of the Dar Salaat. And then there is a gatekeeper who I assume knows the location of all the portals. Those are the only gates I can think of, because At the end of the first book, they find out portals have been, or at least one portal's been open, and they, oh, did I say how many there were? There's like 7 or something. And then you find out about at least one more of those. And then there's a lovely, I know I'm going kind of fast because I'm like, I just thought there was a lovely description of the veil once Rhiann gets it. They said it was translucent and felt like liquid, as if the tears of the 5 sacred dragons had been sealed between gossamer thin layers. She could feel each and every one of them pulsing as if with its own heart, and she thought she could hear the distant voices of the dragon calling to her. I just thought that was like gorgeous writing. Just gorgeous writing. I think that's might be Rhiann. This is an animal that's mentioned in the book, and I'm not sure who that's supposed to be. That might be the Nawatar, but Nawatir. I don't know how to say that. And then another common theme is Rhiann gets hit on the head a lot, and then it's just sort of like Rhiann saves Gan, and then she's killed at least 2 Kurgan, I think, at this point. And then it just sort of ends weirdly, and I'm glad I have the 3rd one, because I would hate to wait to find out what that ending leads to. There's also a subplot, like I said, with Kurgan's sister and his older brother, which I think are spoilers, but you know, they're very good subplots. And I liked them a lot, because I don't usually, I don't give a shit about Kurgan or whatever happened. I sort of skimmed those parts. Because he was always like, oh, I'm going to show that Gurgan who bosses me around, and then he gets shown up by the Gurgan who bosses him around. So I'm like, yeah, you're real smart. But he's 15. But I don't know if that's in human terms or reborn terms. So, yeah, she's got some more allies. Minim, Pernot, that's it, I think. Oh, and then the people at the temple. So, yeah, I thought it was a good sequel. Personally, this is just me personally, I've said this before, the Kurgan stuff, I was super not into, anything to do with Kurgan, Olin is plotting against him, and Kurgan's plotting against the Gurgan that has him, and I'm like, I do not care. But everything else with the Vorn, his sister, his brother, his sister's boyfriend, all amazing. The Rhiann stuff was great. Rek and Elena were at odds, and now they're besties, sort of. It's weird. And then I like the stuff at the temple. It was just all so great. And again, I love the world. I love the lore. I wish there was a prequel or something that explained Mother and Mina and the ramen and everything like that. So that is it for this 2nd book. I will be reading the 3rd book soon. Is that shorter than this one? It is. It's 588 pages. This one was 663. How many was the first one? And the first one was 673. So hopefully I will have a review up soon for that. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed it, and you know, once it got going, like, not got going, because it was always going, but you know, like, once everything was like piling up and you're like, oh my god, what's happening, it was, you know, it ended quickly, and it ended quicker than I thought it would for being such a chunky book. So yeah, I hope that you pick up the book series. I hope you enjoy it, and thank you for watching this video. I hope you liked the video. Please let me know how I'm doing with my reviews, because I am unsure if I'm covering the right things. I'm trying to make my notes more precise, but I don't know if I am. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope that you have a lovely day. Goodbye!